And tonight we had two major injuries. Um, Unfortunately, towards the end of the game, Austin Ekeler was going out essentially for a pass, and you can see that he tried to push off his right foot and then immediately just went down to the ground in a non-contact kind of fashion. He immediately grabbed his Achilles, and then that's the point where you were kind of like, "This is not looking good." I got a hold of the video, and you can kind of see the little recoil into the calf when you slow it down, and then immediately you kind of knew this was not going to be a short-term injury. And reports are coming out that he indeed tore his Achilles. He will get an MRI to confirm tomorrow, but you can just tell from his body language how he was on the sideline. Um, and just when he got the cart and he's kind of waving to the camera, and you just knew that it was not good news, and that's something that unfortunately is going to keep him out for the whole year. And it's going to affect Washington, right? They traded Brian Robinson because they felt that they had a lot of backs that fit this system, like Eckler, JCM, Jeremy McNichols, and even Chris Rodriguez. So I, I think there's going to be people that are going to be stepping up, but to lose a veteran when you got a really young room of running backs is crucial for a team that's trying to compete in the NFC or trying to compete in the NFL at all. So unfortunately, Austin Eckler is going to be out for the year. We never want to see that. But I know when you ask NFL players what they think about Thursday night, they hate it. And I feel like there's always something that happens on these games. There's not an injury every week, but there's like these major type of injuries that will happen. Um, and it's just really unfortunate to see. So, thoughts about to Austin Eckler. I hope he's going to hit the rehab, and I know he's had a tough couple last 2 years, really in this league. Dealt with concussions last year, and he's getting older as a running back, so it's going to be a tough one to kind of get back from. But he's a tough guy, so I would imagine he will be able to come back after a year. And then the other injury tonight was Jayden Reed in the first half was uh, unfortunately caught the pass and scored a touchdown, but they called a holding penalty. So he caught a long bomb from Jordan Love. He landed on his right shoulder and immediately was in pain. And you can tell by the way he just dangled his arm, he just couldn't move it. The pain was too much, and he went immediately to the locker room. He came back out of the locker room with a sling, which is never good news. And the x-rays confirmed tonight that it was a clavicle fracture. So what they call a collarbone, but the clavicle was fractured. And typically this puts a player out about 6 to 8 weeks for it to heal. So the Packers are going to be down another receiver because they're already down Christian Watson. And the one position that the Packers have had depth at is the receiver position because they have a lot of young guys. Obviously they drafted the rookie Matthew Golden, which he had 0 receptions for 0 yards tonight. So that is kind of concerning from a fantasy perspective. And the first game, I believe he only had 2 catches. I'll have to look back on that. But he didn't really do much the first game as well. But you have veterans like, well, he's more of a veteran now on this receiver, but like Romeo Dobbs will be there. You have Wicks, you have Heath, and you got some guys that possibly like Savion Williams that could be in the mix for the pass catching for the Packers. So they at least have some depth there, and Christian Watkins is going to be out until he continues to rehab from his ACL tear. So you're looking at maybe mid-season to end of season for him, and then now looking at Jayden Reed being out roughly almost 2 months, which is unfortunate for the Packers, but it's part of the nature of football. Unfortunately there's injuries, but hopefully he has a speedy recovery. But I don't see him coming back no sooner than 6 weeks. So as far as a fantasy impact here, and especially like when people have injuries like Austin Eckler, obviously it's unfortunate. But when you look at on the fantasy end, you got players like Ja'Cory Crosby Merritt, JCM, which will likely take over the lead back roles, which means more carries. So he might be a guy that, obviously he had a pretty rough game tonight, but he might be a guy that you can kind of go out and snag and see if you can trade for, because he's going to get a lot of opportunities now. But I do think they're going to give kind of share that backfield a little bit with McNichols, and probably now get Chris Rodriguez in the mix because he did look pretty good for training camp and has not dressed because they had the three backs ahead of him. So I think there's going to be more people getting a role, but JCM might be able to have carve more of a role there out of those three guys. So you can see him probably get more of the rock, and as well as Jane Daniels is always going to rush the ball as well. So um, that's on that end. And I think for the Packers, Tucker Kraft, man, like since last year, that is Jordan Love's go-to guy. I think, to be honest, this year he's going to lead the Packers in receptions, and he'll probably come close in yards, to be honest, because I think it's going to take a while for Matthew Golden to kind of get the system, be comfortable, for Jordan Love to trust him. But we all know what Tucker Kraft has done the past 2 years, and starting off this year, he's still doing it. Right, he had 100+ yards tonight and a TD. So I think if you're looking at for a fantasy perspective, Tucker Kraft is going to be the big guy going forward. You would hope that Matthew Golden will get his opportunity to shine and maybe get a little uptick in his receptions and yards. But I think like somebody like Romeo Dobbs will be a consistent player if you need somebody off the waiver wire. If you need that wide receiver 3, 4, that's somebody to kind of look at there. And obviously, I think probably somebody who's going to have the biggest impact is Jacobs, because he is so damn consistent. He again had 84 yards, scored another TD, which makes it, I think, 10 games in a row that he scored a touchdown. So he is pretty much as sure as a guarantee there is in fantasy, especially coming back from the running back side. So if you have him, keep him, and if you don't have him, trade for him. I think that guy is going to be a top 5 running back, kind of moving forward into the season. And I also think Jordan Love, like he has come out this season and really proven that he's worked on his game all off season. His command of the offense is solid right now. He's throwing for more yards than he usually is. So I think he's going to have a solid season kind of moving forward. It's unfortunate that he's missing 2 of his receivers, but when you think about fantasy and you're getting towards the end of the season, going into the playoffs, and Packers are getting healthier, but those receivers coming back, that means he's going to be even more scary. And the fact that they've already won these 2 games and he's done well, I think bodes a lot of confidence of him as your QB1 kind of moving forward.